Assalamu alaikum. Today I came across one video while browsing online. I came across a powerful video addressing the ongoing crisis in Gaza, especially focusing on the devastating famine that has gripped on the region. The video featured a statement delivered by Riyad Mansour, a permanent observer of Palestine, to the United Nations at the session of the United Nations Security Council. In his address, Mansour outlined the catastrophic humanitarian situation in Gaza, describing the widespread famine and the severe shortage of food, medicine, and basic necessities. He emphasized the dire condition faced by the civilian, particularly women and children, as a result of the ongoing blockade and the military actions by Israel. I would like to share this video with you. This is very important video. Please spend 15 minutes time to go through the video.
Council meeting in New York. They are discussing famine in Gaza, and the UN and the Palestine envoy to the UN is speaking.
For their for sharing with us the stunning facts about the horrifying reality of the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip, especially in the northern part of the Gaza Strip. Madam President, the very survival of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians is at stake, notably in northern Gaza. They are being killed and starved to death, moved around like cattle from one place to another, from one death to another. According to OCHA, the most represented category of age among those killed are children, notably from age 5 to 9, and newborns to 4 years old. And there are kids maimed, disabled for life, amputated, orphaned, starving, traumatized. There is no regard for children's lives or civilian lives, no regard for international law or the most basic rules of humanity. There is a brutal, barbaric war against the Palestinian people, unrelenting, inhumane, criminal attack against every shred of life and all the requirements of life in the Gaza Strip. This council met a year ago, and it was already clear what trajectory we were on. We knew then that we were on the path that leads from mass killings to genocide, from starvation to famine, from mass bombing to wanton destruction, from evacuation orders to forcible displacement, from so-called military operations to annexation, from the risk of regional escalation to the certainty of regional war. The agony of the Palestinian people, especially in Gaza, instead of ending, is now coupled with the suffering of our brothers and sisters in Lebanon, with no regard for the sanctity of civilian life and for the sovereignty of Lebanon. Everything we warned against, everything Israel denied, is happening before our eyes. We are at the last stages of an orchestrated plan to empty wide areas of Gaza from its Palestinian population and to inflict upon the Palestinian civilian population conditions that would lead to its destruction if it refused to leave. Let us all pause and understand what it means that northern Gaza is facing now famine, while aid is available and is only a couple of miles away. Let us pause and understand what it means that Israel has decided and implemented famine as a method of war for the purposes of ethnic cleansing and to advance its colonial objectives. Israel tells us trucks are entering and crossings are open and markets are flourishing, or blames others for the siege it is imposing, while the UN, humanitarian NGOs, and all states around the world are saying the opposite, that aid is not allowed in, and when allowed in, is prevented from reaching the people that need it, that starvation has prevailed by design, that forcible displacement is taking place. Who should be believed? Will I have a solution? Israel, which has been killing Palestinian journalists, 182 of them that we celebrated the other day in Geneva in a conference, killing Palestinian journalists to stop them from reporting under false pretext, can allow the international media into Gaza to report on who is responsible for what, on the real conditions in Gaza, on the magnitude of this human-made, occupation-made catastrophe. But Israel will not, because it knows that what the international media will report will provoke a moral and political earthquake. They come and lie to the media and the stakeout outside, but they refuse to allow the media to go and report for itself the facts, and we are grateful for all UN agencies and the briefers who are with us for telling the facts as they are and the lies of the government of Israel and their representative. Nowhere is this more true than northern Gaza, where Israel considered that there are no civilians left and that all those who remained became military targets, justifying killing them and starving them to death. Never before in our international law-based order had any country claimed that an entire civilian population, children, women, and men, was a legitimate military target. Never again. Never happened. Madam President, the ICJ issued clear provisional orders to address what it characterized as a real and imminent risk for the right of the Palestinian people to be protected from acts of genocide. Can anyone around this table argue that Israel has not been deliberately and totally in breach of these orders? What are the implications of such a breach over months? It seems obvious that what was a real and imminent risk then is a terrifying reality now. What we need now is what we needed all along: an unconditional, immediate ceasefire. Let me say it again, an unconditional ceasefire and the immediate entry of life-saving assistance, especially to the north. We need the release of hostages and of Palestinian prisoners. We need the return of people to the areas from which they were displaced, alongside a tremendous effort for immediate relief and reconstruction. We need full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza and initiatives towards an end of occupation and shared peace and security. It should be noted that families of hostages and prisoners and that bereaved families, Palestinian and Israelis, are calling for a ceasefire because they know it is the only way to save lives, the only way for families to be reunited or to be able to mourn. Let us not speak in their name to justify more killing. Let's not speak on their name to justify more killing. Listen to them. Let us not use them as pretext for further violence and parade them in the United Nations for the wrong reasons. Violence is an impasse. Our region has witnessed enough wars to know it. Madam President, 76 years ago, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were dispossessed and displaced, finding themselves refugees in tents. They needed everything, food and shelter. But the first concern of our parents was education. For decades to come, the world would speak of the Palestinian nation who founded schools in tents and gave the region and the world one of the most educated people on earth, providing teachers to numerous countries and bringing up generations of doctors and artists and engineers. In that endeavor, UNRWA was and remains crucial. In the terrible loss and pain and suffering our people are enduring today, as the genocide continues unfolding before our eyes, with the aim once again to uproot our people, and while hunger and famine are tearing their organs apart, our people are still concerned that a generation of Palestinians have missed a full school year and may miss another. They ache as they see their schools and universities blown up, as they understand Israel is destroying their hopes after having destroyed their homes. The rights of Palestine refugees to return and their status is not subject to the existence of any agency. So if Israel thinks that by trying to destroy UNRWA, it can get rid of this issue, it is mistaken. Our right to return is a cornerstone of our rights, and it is rooted in international law. The Israeli legislation aiming to destroy UNRWA at the time it is most needed is both an attack against the United Nations and against the Palestine refugees it was created to serve, and against the Palestinian people, especially in Gaza, who are facing a catastrophic humanitarian crisis. Creating more despair, attacking the agency that helped refugees free themselves from want will not resolve anything. It will fuel the fire we are trying to desperately to stop. Madam President, this is it. Everything we feared is here. The only question that remains is, will we do anything differently now? Smotrich, who has a tendency to spell out clearly what is the policy of the Israeli government, is openly advancing annexation, allowing himself to speak to the intentions of the incoming US administration. We trust that his assumptions are wrong and that unlawful annexation will be opposed by all. The Palestinian people are faced with death, dispossession, and displacement yet again, but once again, they will not disappear. We will not disappear. We are rooted in our land as the olive trees, we call them the Romans, that are rooted in our soil. Only a just and peaceful settlement of the question of Palestine will lead to shared peace and security in our region, as reiterated by the Arab leaders at the Arab Islamic Summit held in Riyadh yesterday. The Arab world has once again shown that it is responding to occupation with demands for freedom. to annexation, to extremism with moderation, to war with initiatives for peace. The opportunity, the position adopted by the Arab world offers, despite the bloodshed, should be seized, not ignored. The alternative is what we see today. It requires courage, a clear vision, and a strong will to change this reality. And given the stakes, it is worth it. We stand ready to work with all of those who wish to put an immediate end to this war and to the full-fledged assault against the Palestinian people. All those who want to see an end of the Israeli occupation and conflict, to allow the Middle East to unleash its true potential for the benefit of all states and all peoples of the region and the world. But it all starts with stopping the bleeding in Gaza. Enough bloodshed, enough suffering, enough horrors. Save lives now, or we will all have to live with the terrifying consequences. Thank you very much, Madam President.
The current demand of a ceasefire in Gaza may not address the deeper, long-standing issues in the region. For over 76 years, the people in Gaza and Palestine have faced ongoing violence in the underlying conflict. Without a focus on full decolonization and the liberation of Palestine, a ceasefire will likely only delay further cycles of violences, as similar conflicts have repeatedly resurfaced. Advocating solely for a ceasefire regarding the fundamental rights and freedom of the Palestinian people and permanent solution must involve in sovereignty and independence to prevent further bloodshed. Of course, the Israeli people, they must leave the country. They need to vacate the land and surrender to Palestinian people. This is only the solution. We cannot expect ceasefire and ceasefire and ceasefire. This is not going to help at all.